Well friends, we are off the coast of Castellamare and we are on board the Aquaboats Luxrib 25 powered by a 350 horsepower Mercury V10. I'm with Vincenzo, the owner of the shipyard. Good morning, Vincenzo.
Hi Carlo, and as always I greet the public.
And today we are cruising to test the boat. The marine weather conditions are very particular because at the time this video is recorded we are in mid-August off the Gulf of Naples outside Castellamare, and therefore there is a lot of movement of boats. As you can already see from the bow camera, there are crossed short waves which then get longer. Although the day is rather calm, so it will be an excellent test bench for monitoring the performance of the boat and above all the stability during navigation. I'll already point out that in displacement with the inverter engaged, we are at 3.2 knots, consumption 3.8 LH. Look at how we remain perfectly stable on the horizon, because not only do the Orca's neoprene tubulars come to our aid and give us so much support, but it is also the structure of the hull which, as we saw in the presentation on board, has a very particular geometry that helps us to reduce rolling, and above all it gives us a lot of stability during navigation. So let's start cruising. Electronic throttle supplied with the V10 engine, therefore very soft, super reactive. I am currently at 1300 RPM, speed 6.3 knots, consumption 8.2 liters per hour. Look here at series of waves coming from any point of the boat. We also have a quarter abeam and bow, but no stability problems. At this moment, we also already appreciate the very soft impact because we are still in displacement. A fast displacement at 1700 RPM, 7.9 knots, with a consumption of 13.2 liters hour. Look at how the wake is forming, because the engine literally wants to push the boat out of the water. V10 engine equipped with incredible torque for its category, so we satisfy it immediately. We reach 2000 RPM, 9.6 knots, consumption 16.2 LH. Consumption therefore higher than 1 liter per mile, but at this moment the engine precisely wants to push, is working to get the hull out of the water as much as possible. And look here, minimum planing, we are already at 11 knots, the hull starts to lift with the bow. We have the active trim profile inserted at level 3 to achieve a balance between comfort and performance. And we find ourselves at 2300 RPM with a consumption of 17.6 LH. But it's time to see how this hull behaves. So let's try to make it work in the regime that is most ideal for it. Cruising regime. Look here, we come out of the water, the bow lowers to the horizon. 18 knots. Consumption 21.7 liters per hour. Look at how the speed consumption ratio has dropped slightly higher than a liter per mile. At a range of 2700 RPM, 2700 RPM means that the engine is not straining in the slightest. And therefore we can also reach 19 knots with active trim correction. Look here with the wave. I stand with the wave in the quarter and abeam, and we remain with a perfectly dry deck, and above all, very comfortable on board. We go up again. Look at the abeam stability. As I was telling you, the hull is equipped with this linear profile, which helps us reduce lateral skidding. Look here. We dive with the bow because the console's quarterdeck is much further forward than on a conventional boat. But no problems on board. Very smooth sailing, 22.8 knots, 3100 RPM. Unchanged consumption, 27.2 liters per hour. We go up again. Feel the roar of the V10. Active trim works to correct the trim. Look, with the stern wave, no problems on board. No vibration problems even from the structures. Therefore, excellent construction quality. Rib made in China with all construction criteria at the highest level, as we have seen in the presentation on board. And we cruise at 26 knots. Constant consumption, 35 liters per hour, 3500 RPM, and at this speed we make sure that there is no one around. We try to stress the hull with a turn to the left. Look here. The rudder is also very reactive, and above all, look at how we remain level on the horizon. We jump on the wave, but the hull deflects the sprays. Now with the bow wave, I place myself on the loop, and we go up again. We are at 3600 RPM, but we push to a more suitable cruising range for this engine. 3950 RPM. 30 knots. We feel the active trim working and correcting the navigation attitude. Look here. No problem in any type of condition. Consumption 42 LH, at this moment 43 liters, so we can estimate just under 1.5 liters per mile. But we still go up. Look, by crossing the wave. The more we advance in speed, the more the hull works with the variable geometry step. Therefore, we reduce the wetted surface, and above all, the sprays are deflected. Because as you can see in the external camera, the wave is broken practically in the center of the hull. And so we don't have any problems with balance. And weight management. We go up again from 30 knots, change of pace. Look at this, we are glued to the seat. A very comfortable seat. I can literally lean on the backrest as if I were in a car and put my feet on the bottom step. With trim, the bow rises slightly, but we always remain planted on the horizon. 4,500 RPM, 34 knots, 34.7 knots, consumption 56 liters per hour. We are moving out of the economic cruising range. I always position myself with the wave abeam. Look here. We can think as if we were in a car making turns, and we go up again. 4,800 RPM, 37 knots. I go up again, 5,000 RPM, look with the wave at the loop. Never a roll problem. Incredible. 40 knots. Consumption 57.9 liters per hour. And let's see where it takes us. I always take the long wave, look here on the loop. We accompany the hull. No problem. The wind you feel comes from the side because there is the very large windshield to give us protection. And we push again. We feel the hull detaching. 41 knots, 5,500 RPM. 42 knots, 600 RPM, consumption 94 LH. The engine thinks about pushing, but now we reduce slightly. We make another turn to starboard. We wait for this wave to pass and stress the hull at this speed of 36 knots. Look here. Turn at 36 knots. Don't do this at home. And now, from the moment we are on the straight ahead, let's see where it takes us. Wide open throttle. Incredible change of pace of the engine. We go up. Look here, we detach ourselves on the wave. Deck always dry. 600 RPM. I push all 43 knots. Look on the beam. 5,900 RPM. I don't care about the trim. Consumption 109 liters an hour. 47 knots with the wave on the beam. 6,100 RPM. 47.5. We're completely breaking away. Look, we even reach 48 knots. But what stability on the crossed sea. 6,100 RPM, 109 liters per hour. 49 knots. And now let's go down slightly. And Vincenzo, what do you think? Can we turn?
Go, go.
We are here in test conditions. Look, we are leaning a beam. But another parabolic, we also expose ourselves to the wind and the current. 38 knots. Look, the slap on the wave. Pushes our body outwards, but the engine works exceptionally. And now look here. We return with the wave abeam, and I can easily return the cruise sole to the rib, sailing at a fast cruise of 30 knots. Look at how the setup has changed now that we are perfectly horizontal again. And so all we have to do is put it in neutral. And see in how many seconds this V10 releases its maximum power. In how many seconds it takes us to top speed. So here we are at neutral. As I was telling you, we want to stress the boat so we won't wait for these waves to pass a beam. I just placed the rudder in the center. As I was telling you, we have active trim at level 3, and all we have to do is count. 3, 2, 1, go! Throttle push. Look at how we are glued together. 6 knots, 8 knots, 12, 15, wave on the beam. Look here. 30 knots, 35. Risky maneuver, don't do it at home. 42 knots on the beam. 48. I accompany the hull at 47 knots. 47.6. 47. 48 on white. We push again. I take off the gas a little. Look how we don't hit the wave. And now we push again. Engine always reactive. What a combination. Oh my God.
Che combinazione, mamma mia.
We detach ourselves completely. The deck is always constantly dry. Therefore, dear friends, all I have to do is return to the harbor. I return as I told you in cruising range. Look at how we can relax peacefully. At a speed of 26.7 knots. This is the Aquaboats Luxrib 25. It's a boat that I recommend to a more expert audience. It is a vessel dedicated to those who are more confident with the sea and, above all, know how to manage the pace and rhythms. Because we have seen how the sports hull manages to satisfy us from a performance point of view with a rather sporty profile. Comparing ourselves to the car, we can say that it is as if it were a vehicle with rigid suspensions, so we can have fun. The boat follows us in every maneuver, but it must be managed. We have the active trim profile. I also adjusted it manually, and above all, it is necessary to have a minimum level of confidence with the hull. I myself carried out training with the shipyard's technicians before carrying out this test precisely because it is not a conventional boat. Therefore, it must be explained, it must be analyzed, and subsequently, once we have gained confidence, we are able to face across sea as in these situations, therefore an excellent test bench for the hull. Nothing to say for the engine, always reactive and ready to manage performance and satisfy the owner's needs. And above all, by not stressing excessively, we managed to have a consumption of less than 1.5 liters per mile. Because at the moment we are sailing at 30 nodes with a consumption of 43 LH. However, if we wanted to have fun, just do this, and we are glued to the seat. Look here. So dear friends, with this last outburst at 45 knots, I return to the harbor. This is the Aquaboats Luxrib 25. As always, if you liked the video, I invite you to subscribe to the YouTube channel and the Facebook page. Leave a like and tag the people you think might be interested. And as always, for all next videos, see you always here on the Sea Team. Jumping on the wave, look up. We don't stop having fun. See you next time. Thanks again, Vincenzo.
Bye.
However, the excitement you have when you jump on the wave, accelerate, and it passes you onto the other wave. Look at this. Now I understand. Now, look at this. But you have to warn the people on board. That is, look now. Decelerate and accelerate.
You go to take the wave where the hull is missing.
Yes, yes, yes. Look at the beam. Nice. I mean, it's a racing rib. 46 knots. I'm raising the trim 48, 48.3, 48.4.
48.7. You have to put this in the video.
In fact, I didn't disconnect the camera. I didn't disconnect it.
Be careful forward, 49.1.
We're reaching 2,000 knots. Oh yes, 2,000 knots.